Wrench it away. Cotton the dive for Hensel. You're kidding me.
His depth and resolve is being tested. Cotton drops.
Not sure what to do, so kicks it back up to the top. Shot clock at 5 for Cotton. That's ridiculous. Bryce Cotton at his very, very best.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Adam Batt. It's the Wildcat Wrap. And what a great way to start that podcast with a sensational rhyme too. But we are always presented, our podcast here at the Wildcat Wrap, by the team at the Basketball Fix. For all your basketball needs, Super Coach, of course, all of the amazing team podcasts that we have within the Basketball Fix. Articles, everything is there just at your fingertips. Instagram, Facebook, socials, wherever. The Basketball Fix is the place to be. And joining me back this week, it's like he never left. A special guest for a special person in his very own special seat too, trying to stave off the heat in this yet again heat wave back in Perth. We thought we'd survived it, but we haven't. Declan Paidra, mad Perth Wildcat fan. Welcome back to the show. And how have you been, mate?
Oh, mate, I'm excited to be back on the show. I've been watching you and Josh kill it. So, it's great to be back in the hot seat. Sweating away. It's quite warm where I am at the moment. But, yeah, keen to get into it, chat about the Wildcats. And, yeah, it's exciting to be back on the show. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a shout out to the main man in the Basketball Fix, Josh Higgins, a very, very busy man. He handed over the reins to Declan today, and we are very lucky that Declan was able to take the call and allow us to sort of go through this Wildcat Wrap episode in a very tricky and awkward time, given the fact that the Perth Wildcats played all the way back on Tuesday, and we've got to wait on almost a full 2 weeks until that first game of the semi-final series. No spoilers if you haven't already seen the game results, but let's go back to the South East Melbourne Phoenix match on Tuesday evening at the Perth High Performance Centre, or what some people love to call Challenge Stadium 2 or HBF Stadium. You can give it a wide variety of names. You could give it, they shouldn't have been playing there in the first place stadium, but hey, we just have to move forward. And that will be maybe a topic for conversation later on. I know we've got a couple of Q&As that will be addressing that. But let's sort of talk about the game itself. The Perth Wildcats, well, they exploded to begin the game, going 20-2 or thereabouts in the first 2 or 3 minutes. I think everyone just thought, well, this game is over. I don't need to watch the rest of it. But there was just a massive change in South East Melbourne on the back of Angus Glover, the glove. They almost did exactly the same thing, just gave us another run too. It was a 1-point deficit going into quarter time before the Wildcats did gain a little bit of ascendancy in the next term, led by 5 points. It seems to be classic Perth fashion, Deck. In that third term, they just love. Like, if we're talking about winning quarters across the season, I reckon Perth would be very, very close for that third term ascendancy across the board. 34-23 on the back of 10 of 15 2-pointers and but only 4 3-point attempts. Really unusual for Perth, but they clearly targeted the paint, and it was sort of done by Keanu Pinder as well. Before I go into a little bit more depth on that, how did you see, I guess, that first half and when they broke the game open in that third term in particular, Jack? How did you see it all play out? Because it was back and forth for a lot of that game.
Yeah, well, we had a great start. Keanu Pinder went off. I was excited. I was jumping out my chair. I was like, this is what we want to see. Like, let's go. He had the luck was on his side. I think he went up for a dunk and it went like 5 meters in the air and the ball dropped back down. Everything was dropping for us, and I thought, wow, 20-4, like, it's probably the biggest lead we've had in the season to start a game, especially 3 to 4 minutes in. So I was shocked. I was like, okay, this is going to be an absolute blowout. Like, get in, get the job done. So I thought, okay, like, really good start. And then for them, oh, that's right, to call that timeout a minute in for an out of bounds play, I thought, do it, I dare you. Like, stuff it up for us. That's awesome. Like, have one timeout for the rest of the half. So I was glad that they stuffed that up. That really actually helped drag that run out quicker and longer. Yeah, to start the game, I was jumping up and down. I had the aircon on because I was just sweating, just absolutely sweating, yelling. And, yeah, to see Glover come off the bench the way he did, I was like, I looked at the score and I thought, if there's going to be one player to just have a good game against us that's kind of been quiet, Glover's going to come and do it. And I was like, okay, like, here we go. He's going to drop 20. He's going to drop 30. And which he did. He wasn't missing for, at least 2 quarters. So he came out the floodgates and tied it up. And I think for that next second quarter, it was really stale and just foul, both sides. A bit of a dogfight. But no, it was tensions and it was a nervous game. It was, finals atmosphere really. Like to start the game, it was exciting.
It was, and like obviously on Angus Glover drew them back into the game, but Matt Hurt, he was really unstoppable in that third term in particular, and sort of the back half of the second quarter. You sort of touched on about the free throws, and we know that Josh King came out in his press conference, and he was pretty sour and salty about the game, and like you could probably say it was at times a bit of a boring game because they were just going back and forth from free throw line to free throw line. And come finals, you probably just want to let the game play out, let them be a little bit more physical. But anyway, like if you're a Perth Wildcat fan and you've got players like, Bryce in your team in particular, you want them calling fouls, and eventually Perth will gain that ascendancy because you got Pinder and you got Doolittle, they get to the line, and most of the time they're quite high percentage shooters from the free throw line. So it was always going to be in Perth's favour, and it wasn't one way or the other. There were just a lot of calls at both ends. So everyone has lots of opinions on that and sort of how it all played out. That was the game in the end. It was a free throw kind of game until it eventually it sort of went the way of Perth in that final term. But at the end too, it was 122 to 105. What I was really impressed though, Deck, by Perth is they restricted South East Melbourne in that second half, 23 points in that third term and only 15 points in the last quarter. And, we know that defense has not been one of Perth's great strengths, but from like a South East Melbourne scoring perspective, and like they can score up with the best of them, with the Adelaides and the Perths, the Yellow Warriors of the world. They've got ton of weapons, which we saw in that first half. I think like they were all on track for 60 points in the first 20 minutes of basketball, which obviously is quite a high feat. Were you happy that Perth got their defensive stops in that final 20 minutes to start putting the clamps on a bit?
Yeah, I was kind of shocked actually at the way it changed the game, first half and second half. Like the fouls, they were always still there. But just the flow of the game, scoring-wise, it kind of picked up for us, and it went the opposite way for Phoenix. I think they kind of got stuck down. Ball didn't move. And then how can we not miss him? The MVP, 5-time MVP, our best player, just starts lighting it up. Couple threes, assists, just spreads the floor. And that third quarter, that really started it. I think just having Pinder aggressive, Doolittle aggressive, and even Windler. Shout out to Dylan Windler. He doesn't always get the biggest amount of points or anything, but his defense is underrated. And he's definitely picked it up as the season's gone on, which is impressive. So to have those three, sub in, sub out, take on, those power forwards, small forward sort of positions and centers, we did an awesome job in that second half. Like we really locked down, and 15 points in a fourth quarter in a finals game, like pat on the back. You can't ask for much better than that. That was really impressive, especially for a high scoring game. Like if you were to look at the scores, you would not think that they scored 15 in the last quarter. So to see us do that, it does show defensive wise, it's there. We can do it. It's more about how long we can do it and what teams we can do it against, because all teams are different. So I think we executed well against the Phoenix. We were locked in. Second half for sure was where we won the game. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, shout out to Pinder. Game of his life. 35 points, 11 rebounds. Pretty much saved us at times when, Bryce Cotton wasn't hitting the shots or whatnot. So, yeah, awesome game by the fellas. We got the job done, and executed the game plan really well in my eyes.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you sort of touched on KP, and I'm gonna give myself just like a tiny little pat on the back here because I called it in last week's podcast. When we go, who's going to be the most important player? I made an impassioned plea. I said Josh, it's going to be Keanu Pinder. He's going to be the man that's going to drag him across the line. And like, you never know with KP. He's very inconsistent. He has admittedly had a really good last 3 or 4 weeks to finish off the season. But like, not just 35 points and 11 rebounds that you sort of spoke about. It was the 3 assists, 11 of 13 from the field, 3 of 3 3-pointers, and plus 35 in the plus minus. And you know what the best that is out of all of that? It's 25 minutes of basketball that he did all of this. Like, that is an insane ratio. Supremely surprised by him. And, just Adam Batt, me, well done. Well done on calling that Keanu Pinder was the right
Good
person.
job, mate.
And look, 1
Good
out
job.
of 10. I have to get it because the other 9 predictions obviously were rubbish and failed miserably. So when the one does come in, I have to sort of jump on it, Deck. Obviously.
He obviously listens to you because I called him out a few times about a month ago and he didn't listen. Now you say it and bang, look at him go. So keep working the magic, mate. You're working it.
That's right, exactly. So no, and like, all jokes aside, though, I think that. And I know a lot of people have sort of said it, but he still is the key. So, against United, he's going to be really, really important for them because we probably know what Doolittle and Bryce, for the most part, are going to get. But he needs to be that third person that gives them, he doesn't need to get 30, like 15 to 20 is going to be enough. And, 5 to 7 rebounds. Anything more is a plus and a bonus. Yeah. So, that was the nice breakdown. A really good way to sort of break up your week. A Tuesday night when you get home from work and you're like, oh, God, it's Tuesday. There's still 3 more days in the week. But then you get excited Tuesday evening. You got the big win. You can go to work on Wednesday, hump day, and you've got a Wildcats win. So, a really great way to break up the week. And I guess, unfortunately, now we've got to wait after the FIBA break and a little bit more for the semi-final series, which we'll get to, Deck, you and I, soon. But we're going to bring in Hypothetical of the Week, or bring it back. And it's a simple one, Deck, but it's one that I sort of started thinking about the other day. And it always comes around this time of the NBL season. Of course, this time of the NBA season too, when they have their own FIBA break inflections. They've got the All-Star weekend. But here in the NBL, are the grand or the final series in general, are they too short? Should both the semis and the grand final series both be best of 5? I know that the grand final series only went out to the best of 5, maybe 4 or 5 seasons ago. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around that mark. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
And appreciate that time is always the enemy. And, it seems AFL season starts earlier and earlier every single year. And, I think that, David Stevenson wants to bring in more games, so that could make it even trickier. But do you think that now where NBL is at the stage where it's a supremely competitive league, it's one of the best competitions in the world outside of the NBA, and 3 games just doesn't seem to be enough? But what do you think, mate?
I 100% agree with you. 3 games just doesn't feel right. That's under 18 sort of stuff, really. I mean, I wouldn't mind the semi-finals being a 5-game series and the grand final series being 7. I think that's probably a good way to start, just considering, the NBA, the way they have it, their 7 games kind of matches well with how they run it. So I think starting 5 games in a semi-final series, if anything, that's going to bring more views in, bring the best out of the teams, the players, more fans. So I definitely think if we step in that direction, perfect. I can't see it going wrong, to be honest. So I think 5-game series for semis, 7-game series for the grand final. And I think that's a way to start. I think that would actually work really well in the NBL's favour.
Yeah, it's a massive watch this space. And I know that, David Stevenson, wants the comp to get better and better every single year. And these are those kinds of questions that he has to ask. And, we would love to get our great Wildcat Wrap listeners to give us some feedback on what they think, whether, keep it at 3, extend it to 5 for the semi, and then maybe 7 for the grand final series. Obviously, slightly different to what, the NBA can do because they're much closer from a logistical perspective. We're talking about flights and traveling from east to west or north to south. I guess where there's a will, there's the way, as they always say.
Always.
Thankfully, there is no injury update. There is still a clean bill of health. So very, very pleased that outside, that's right, we're praying with our fingers and our toes that across the next week and a half that nothing happens on the training court except, good juju and all the good stuff. Deck, you and I were just going to do a bit of a quick maybe wrap up looking ahead to that Melbourne United semi-final series. I'm just going to start us off with the most recent game that they had against Melbourne United. The Wildcats lost 93-99. They had 9 more field goal attempts, Perth, but they shot at just 43%, 48% from 2-point land, up against United's 62%. So they destroyed us in the paint. They also got monstered in rebounding, -14 overall. But in a positive, they only had 7 turnovers. So it's kind of weird that you can only have 7 turnovers, that you still go down by 6 points, because that's actually quite a nice number. And in that 4th term alone, Deck, well, the game was still up for grabs. Perth really couldn't close it out. They went 6 of 12 from 2-pointers versus 10 of 17 for United, and then only 2 of 12 from the 3-point land and 1 assist. So I think it was about a month ago, give or take, that game. Actually, So it was a month ago. It was only a couple of weeks ago. So what did you take out of that game? In Perth, we know that Melbourne have a great record coming to RAC Arena. They absolutely do not fear it at all. But that was probably one of Perth's better performances against United. How do you sort of see this series, or maybe if you want to break it down, the first game? How do you see it being won and lost? Where are the strengths and weaknesses of the two teams?
Well, I think we're due for a win, aren't we? It's been a long time. I think surely we've got to get one. So, yeah, they definitely play well over here. It's I don't know, it's quite disappointing, really, considering they're probably our biggest rival apart from Sydney. Melbourne and Perth, they've gone at it over the years, semi-finals, finals, rivalry games. It's, they've really gone at it. So to see us, on the receiving end of it the way it is, especially in Perth, is, it's quite shocking. I didn't know the stats until that game when they read them out at the start, and I thought, wow. And just a quick bit of, facts and info for all the viewers when you watch this. That one game that we won in the last 10 or 11 was because Corey Webster hit a 3 that we never should have won. Like, we should have never have won that game. We were down by 8 with a minute left and somehow pulled it out. So probably put a bit of an asterisk next to that one and go, okay, we're lucky to win that. So I'd hate to know what the record looks like if we didn't win that one. But the 93-99, I believe that score was to that game just recently against them. We played well. Like, we did play well. They did shut Bryce down to an extent. He didn't get free, probably didn't have the open shots he would like. But I think other players stepped up. I think Doolittle had a massive game. Like, no one could guard him. You put Jack White on him, get him in foul trouble, put Lee on him, and he was too strong for Lee. So I think to jump ahead, I think that's probably where we can get them, is Doolittle. If we can keep him out of foul trouble on the other end and just keep him ticking along on the offensive end, mid-range buckets, layups to the foul line, we could absolutely win this. So, yeah, credit to Doolittle for that game as well, because he played his heart out. But I believe that's where we can make a difference. It's always going to be Bryce Cotton, on our offensive card, and then on their scouting report, Bryce is at the top of everyone's list. So, when it gets to that point, you've got to find a couple other things just to, keep ticking it along when it's not going smoothly. So if we can play the same way, well, this is a bit of an if, but if we can play the same way we did and just execute our shots better and just hit a few more, we can beat Melbourne. I think just with the amount of shots we took, we missed a few easy ones. I think that was our downfall that game. And probably the last 5 minutes as well, we kind of shut down and just didn't move the ball as well. So if we can fix that aspect and stay reasonably solid defensively, especially in Melbourne, we have an absolute chance of this. And a lot of people are going to write Perth off and go, nah, mate, look at the stats, look at the records. Like, nah, they're done for. It's not like that. You look at the games they've won recently, the way that really's got them playing, it's exciting, especially for a Perth fan. Other teams, they might be worrying or they might be a bit delusional and naive and go, nah, Perth's washed, mate, you know. But we're coming. It's now just a matter of, can Melbourne beat us another 2 games or 2 games in a row, or 2 out of the 3. But I think we can win this if we just solid defense, offensively move the ball, get everyone involved, and who knows, we'll be in the grand final series, mate, and be a whole different story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's going to be a really challenging series for sure. And just before we get to that, you were spot on with the real KD, Kristian Doolittle, 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in that game. So he was remarkable. Pinder only had 10 points and 7 rebounds, and BC, as he always is, unfortunately, well held, 14 points, 5 rebounds. But yeah, and you sort of touched on a couple of points, that the ball movement in offense, especially against such a clinical team that we know Melbourne United are when it comes to defense. The only way to beat them is you've got to move the ball. So you've got to move around. You've got to move that ball from side to side, into out, left to right, across the board. Get lots of hands touching it, and that's how you move that defense and get the shot that you want. So yeah, you're sort of bang on the money there. It's sort of that classic, high octane offense, the Perth Wildcats kind of style of basketball versus, the stringent defense. We know that, United don't score at a high clip, so that's where you've got the advantage. But then we also know that Perth concede, a lot of high scores, so that their defense is not great. So which one will eventually prevail? Well, only time will tell. I think the paint for mine is where the game is going to be won and lost. Almanza, Doolittle, and KP up against Lowe, Lee, and White. Like, it's the classic big of, Rob Lowe, Marcus Lee, they're actually quite handy with a pick and roll and the pick and pop respectively, versus, the more dynamic and fleet-footed set of tools in Keanu Pinder and Kristian Doolittle. So who can be dominant in the middle, but also force shot changes, hold the glass, restrict, those second chance opportunities. That is going to be so important, especially those second chance opportunities, because we know that Melbourne get a lot of them. We know their guards, Delhi and Shea Ely, they sort of go on the glass hard too. So it can't just be down to, your 3, 4, and 5 getting all the rebounds. It's got to be, everyone has to have that really strong mindset to get that rebounds, give them one shot, and then you punish them down the other end, because we do have so many, attacking options there. Just before we sort of finish off from that, and maybe, Deck, you can think about your most important player in that series. Anything else to add from, the bigs? I think we're probably both agreeing that that's going to be probably where the game's going to be, or the series, should I say, is probably going to be, won and lost around that space of the floor.
Yeah, definitely. I think Doolittle and Pinder would need to have a good series, like both of them. I'm not expecting any 40-point games as such, but just, moving the ball around, 8 to 10 rebounds, 15 to 20 points, which you kind of said before. And I just want to add in, I think having Ty Webster running and gunning, I think as well, is going to help us, because when we versed them last, I don't think he played. And people do have their criticism about him. They say he's loose with the ball, he fouls a lot. He can get a bit over the top sometimes, but when he's in good rhythm and passing the ball and hitting the shots, he's our energy guy. He can really bring the team up with him. So to add to your the paint and the bigs, I'm going to add Ty Webster in there. Of course, the 5-time MVP. We could speak about him for hours, but we already know he's added by default. So, yeah, add Ty Webster in there for the energy that he brings and the floor awareness. You know, he's been around the league for quite a while now, so he has got a good head on his shoulders. So I think if he can have a good series, stay out of foul trouble, I think that'll definitely help us in the long run, especially as the series goes on, because those young players can fold and crack under pressure and be nervous, where he can go in with that, you know, that attitude of, you know, take me on sort of thing. He's got that sort of attitude about him, if you know what I mean, like I'm better than you sort of thing. And if he can come in with that confidence, look out.
Yeah, no, I like it. He is clearly the barometer of the Perth Wildcats. Has so much energy, whether it's on the court, off the court, at the press conference, even though he's not scheduled to be there in the first place anyway. Yeah, Ty Webster clearly is it. Yeah, he's that infectious personality that every club, whether it's basketball, football, anything, you just need that kind of person in your team, in the locker room, keeping the guys energized, up and about, making it a little bit light, because, you know, we all know it can get quite serious about this time. And fair enough, you're playing for championships, but sometimes you just got to break the ice a bit. And Ty clearly is that person, and he's really well valued within the organization. I think sort of most important players, definitely Keanu. I sort of touched on him, so I won't sort of beat the same drum again. He'll probably get 10 points and 2 rebounds the next game just to make me look like a goose.
Oh, no.
And this second one, though, and like, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's going to be the most important player in the series, but I reckon he's going to have some moments. And I know that his second half of the season hasn't been great from how he started. He's only a first-year professional. Elijah Pepper, I just reckon he's going to have 3 or 4 minutes across sort of every one of those games. John Riley's going to give him some time. Don't you worry about that. And Elijah Pepper's going to hit some big threes when they need them, or when they're on that 5 to 7 point margin, just to stretch it out to double digits, or if they're down by 5 or 7, just to bring them back a little bit closer. I've got lots of faith in Elijah Pepper. I think that from a contract option, which is a team option, they're going to bring him back. No brainer there. And I've just seen enough of him in the time that he's been on the court, where I reckon John's going to give him, you know, different minutes here and there, just to give Ben a bit of a break and give BC a little bit of a break. I've got faith in Elijah, so we will see how that unfolds. But yeah, that's my sort of one minor call on top of KP. Yeah, a little mini breakdown. You know, Perth Wildcats fans, give us your feedback and thoughts. How you think the game's going to unplay in a week and a half? You can contain your excitement for those 10 to 14 days, however it ends up being. Just before we sign off, we need to get to the most important part, the rapid fire Q&A. Had some great questions that came in today, so thanks to those awesome people. Let's start off with Corey James, and he sort of stated, have we worked more on defense and rebounds for the upcoming game? So Deck, rebound count, they actually won that quite comprehensively against South East Melbourne. They're not short of bigs. Of course, we're going up a different against a different style of tall, means, Low and Lee and White. Do you think that, and we have sort of touched on it briefly, do you think they've sort of turned the corner with that defense and rebounding? Great question, Corey James. Can you answer Corey on that one?
Yeah, no, great question. We always get the good old defensive questions these days. No, the way we've been playing recently, our defense has been pretty good. Like, I won't knock it. 15 points in the last quarter for South East Melbourne. I think that kind of proves where we're at. That's crunch time. That's pressure's on. You're tired. You're trying just that bit harder for the plays. And, 15 points, that kind of shows that we can execute on that end. So I think, yeah, we've definitely, I wouldn't say they've done extra and gone, we need to do extra on the rebounding and such, but I think I've brought it up and said we need to do better and we need to be more aggressive. And that's offensively and defensively with the boards, because I've seen it on both ends, not just the one. So, yeah, to look at the stats over the last, say, month and stuff, we've definitely increased and gotten better. So it's definitely something to look forward to. And I think for the upcoming series, I mean, we've got 2 weeks to train. So they'll definitely be doing some defensive drills. I won't lie. So yeah, no, looking forward to it. Great question. Yeah, you guys have always got good questions. Always hitting us with the good old defensive questions. I love it.
No, they do. And our last couple of questions, and he's a regular on here, Moose Hansen, a star of all of our podcast listeners. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room, which was a great question by Moose Hansen. Let's talk about firstly the poor turnout at Challenge Stadium, the High Performance Centre. Capacity of about 4,500. Appreciate it's a Tuesday night. But Dec, you are obviously a massive Perth Wildcats fan. Were you a bit disappointed that they didn't even crack the 3 mark?
Look, I didn't go to the game, so I can't really talk.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting on the fence. Yeah, it was kind of shocking to see only 2,975 people turn out. I think everyone kind of thought, just leave it up to the members. They'll get their tickets. There's going to be no tickets left. And it bit us in the arse. We ended up going in half full, Yeah, it was a loud game, from a lot of the fans. They said it was a great atmosphere and stuff. So, to be honest, I don't think it changed the way the boys played or the crowd itself. Everyone still chanted loud. It was still passionate, which is great to see. So, yeah, to be able to, take that on, take the criticism on, have the crowd turn out the way they did and still just perform the way we did. Yeah, kudos to them and, everyone that turned up on a Tuesday night, good job as well, because a lot of people got families. A lot of people have, jobs that finish at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, yeah, shout out to all the fans that went. Yous brought it home for us and definitely helped the boys get over the line. So, yeah, good job.
Yeah, no, I like that too. So yeah, if you're able to get there, well played to you. Mount Claremont is a bit of a hike, whether you're north or south. And yeah, even though the game's at 6:30, as you said, a lot of people finish their work 5, maybe even a little bit later, and public transport, family, routines and situations. So yeah, 2,975 or whatever it was, I guess is much better than 0. So, we took the home advantage,
100%.
we made it count, and thankfully, they didn't have to play today, I guess, which was good. And the last one from Moose Hansen is, Melbourne's dominance in the jungle, and how do we overcome that and move through to the next round? Well, we sort of touched on like a couple of points for that semi-final series already, and you yourself discussed, I guess the strong, I guess, stance and recent victories that Melbourne United have had over that. Is it as simple as, I don't know, it's not that you can or should forget about what's happened before, because records are made to be broken, streaks are meant to finish. Do we need to say it as simple as, now is the time just to get it done? We know that we can defeat them, just do it. Classic Nike slogan.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm going to go the opposite way and go, you take no thought of the record that they hold against us. If anything, thinking about that's going to hurt you now. It's at that time now where, if they'd won 3, it wouldn't matter so much. But the fact that they've won 10 out of the last 11 or 9 out of the last 10, I think, don't think about it at all. Think about it as you're in our home. This is where we play our best games. This is our crowd, and just shock them. Take them on and go, nah, we're not going to have this. Going with the confidence and, a bit of that, I don't know, I wouldn't really call it a cocky attitude, but that kind of take us on like we're going to kick your ass. And I think John really will, he will rev him up for this one and go, nah, let's bring it, especially in Perth. And then even in Melbourne, I think we actually play them away better. So that might be all right having 2 games in Melbourne, but I definitely think it's just the record you wipe and go, nah, the game starts 0-0. It's 5 players on the court. We can beat this team. They're only human. Take it on, go in with confidence, come out with the win, and I think that's how we can do it. And I mean, who can forget the Red Army, 13,000 behind you? That doesn't go unnoticed either. So, yeah, be ready for that because they make a hell of a difference.
Yeah, absolutely they do. And, just love it, Declan. Strong words from a strong man.
Always
indeed.
from the heart.
That's what we love about your deck as well. Unfortunately, as it always does, time has gotten the better of us. But just before you and I sign off, Deck, anything you wanted to shout out to our very loyal listeners at the Wildcat Wrap and, of course, the Perth Wildcat fraternity in general?
Yeah, well, shout out to Josh for bringing me back on the pod. I've been in the background a bit with the basketball fix, and now coming back on and helping Josh out when he's a busy man. He's got pods after pods. So yeah, credit to Josh. Thank you for letting me back on. Always good to talk about the Wildcats and spit some shit. There's always good chats. So yeah, shout out to the basketball fix as well for what they're doing. They're growing at a crazy rate. I'm glad to be a part of that. And, to all the listeners, your questions, we love them. Keep asking them. Even if you put 3 questions forward and it's from one person, keep doing what you're doing, share the pods. And, we just look forward to this final series coming up. There's definitely going to be a lot of nervous energy, excitement, fans going back at each other. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next 2 weeks, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be an incredible final series, not just for the Perth Wildcats, but for all those teams that are still involved. And by all, I mean, obviously only 4 of them after today. But if you're still here now and you have survived 36 and a half minutes, you know what you have to do. Like, subscribe, leave a rating and leave a review. Do all the good stuff. We really, really appreciate it. And, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and ever in between. Check out all of the basketball fix from podcasting needs, articles, we are all there. So NBL Overtime, watch out, we are coming for you, of course. But from Declan
we're coming.
And of course,
and
the whole
share it to your friends and family.
That's it. Well said there indeed. We are all out for now.
Did enough to wrench it away. Cotton the dive for Hensel. You're kidding me.
Whose depth and resolve has been tested. Cotton drops.
Not sure what to do, so kicks it back up to the top. Shot clock at 5 for Cotton.